Maybe. Maybe making her first podcast appearance over here.
Tell her to say something funny.
Yeah, maybe say something funny. She got nothing.
Meow, Brent's an asshole.
Everybody knows that already, Cat.
Welcome to Filmwar. Let's cut the shit. This is a movie games podcast, so every second not spent playing movie games is a second wasted. Our contestants will be competing for points in several games. Whoever has the most points at the end of the game will be declared our champion. Our prize for today is a VHS cassette copy of Raising Arizona, the Coen Brothers classic starring Nicolas Cage and Holly Hunter. Today we have Brent. Today we have Dan. Today we have Tiffany. Today we have Kyle. How are you guys doing today?
Good.
I'm doing good.
Hey, did anybody see anything good recently?
Oh, I did see a movie recently. I saw that new Tom Hanks movie, and I didn't care for it.
Man
name's
Called
Otto.
Yes.
What, you didn't like it? I don't even know what that movie's about. What is it
Yeah,
about?
why didn't you like it?
It's really depressing. There's nothing that kind of makes it heartwarming, and it drags on. Tom Hanks shouldn't be playing a sad sack, is all I'm saying.
He's played
Yeah,
a
I
sad
can see
sack a
that.
few times.
Where?
I think Tom Hanks has kind of started to not choose his roles as carefully as he has in the past. Like, I don't know if you guys saw Elvis, but he was truly awful in that performance.
I couldn't stand that movie. The scenes all lasted about 3 seconds. Or the shots, not the scenes.
I don't like Elvis.
No, my wife said that Tom Hanks has two sons, one that looks like him and acts, and one that has tattoos.
Yeah, Colin Hanks and
Jet is his name, isn't it?
he's a rapper too.
What?
There's a Hanks in the
Chet, no, it's
movie.
Chet.
Chet, yeah, Chet. Colin and Chet.
This game is called Genre Feud.
This game is called Genre Feud.
Family Feud.
It's kind of like Family Feud, yeah, but not really at all.
Okay,
I'll be naming a specific genre of films, and then 3 films that fall into that genre. You will take turns guessing who had the highest budget and who took in the most money theatrically worldwide. Our first movie genre is Nicolas Cage movies, star of today's VHS cassette. Raising Arizona is not one of the movies, though. Your movies to choose from are Snake Eyes, 8mm, and Bringing Out the Dead. Let's start with Dan. Dan, which one do you think had the highest budget?
The highest budget was going to be 8mm.
8mm, Dan says. Tiffany, what do you say?
Oh, probably Snake Eyes.
Tiffany's saying Snake Eyes. Brent, what do you say?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Snake Eyes as well.
Brent's also saying Snake Eyes. Kyle, what do you say?
I'll go with Bringing Out the Dead. I haven't seen any of these.
You haven't seen any of these 3 movies. Wow. Kyle's saying Bring Out the Dead. Tiffany and Brent get a point. Snake Eyes had the highest budget with $73 million. 8mm only had 40. Bringing Out the Dead cost $55 million to make. Snake Eyes, that's kind of a big budget for that. It all takes place in, one location. I thought it would be lower than that, but...
There are a lot of...
That's the only one I've seen.
Oh my God, you
like
people
it?
are killing me here.
Yeah, these are all
I like
good
Nick
movies.
Cage movies. I've just never heard of these other 2.
Yeah, these are all good movies, though.
I'd start with 8mm.
Yeah,
Will do.
yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, it's a good movie, but it's got some risque content. Okay. What? Snuck Eyes?
Yeah, I was gonna say it had a lot of names in it, didn't it?
8mm? Yeah, it's got James Gandolfini
No,
in
Snake
it.
Eyes.
Oh, Snake Eyes? It's got... Not really. Gary Sinise, nobody else I can think of.
I thought Mike Tyson was in it.
No, Mike Tyson is not in it. No. Okay, now we're going for worldwide gross, theatrically. Start with Kyle. Which movie do you think brought in the most money?
I'll go with Snake Eyes.
Kyle saying Snake Eyes brought in the most money. Brent, what do you say?
Bringing Out the Dead.
Brent saying Bring Out the Dead. Tiffany, what do you say? Which one do you think brought in the most money?
I'm gonna stick with Snake Eyes, I think.
Tiffany saying Snake Eyes too. Dan, what do you say?
Snake Eyes.
Dan saying Snake Eyes, and it is the answer. $104 million Snake Eyes brought in, $97 million for 8mm, and Bring Out the Dead only brought in $17 million.
Yes.
Yeah. 8mm seems like it was much more
budget,
popular. I know, but I thought it was much more popular when it came out. I remember hearing more about 8mm than I did the other two films, but I was running some weird circles back in those days. The next genre is military comedy. And your choices are Stripes, Major Payne, and Sergeant Bilko. We're going for budget here. Tiffany, which one do you think had the highest budget between these three?
Sergeant Bilko.
Tiffany saying Sergeant Bilko. Dan, what are you saying?
Major Payne.
Dan saying Major Payne. Kyle, what are you saying?
Well, if I factor in inflation, Stripes was in the 70s, so I won't say that. I'm going to go with Sergeant Bilko.
Kyle's saying Sergeant Bilko. Brent, what are you saying?
Yeah, give me Bilko.
Brent's saying Sergeant Bilko. Tiffany, Kyle, and Brent all chose Sergeant Bilko, and they all get a point for it. $39 million to $29 for Major Payne and $10 million for Stripes. Yeah, well, not bad.
Damon
$10 million
Wayans got a huge chunk of that.
from Major
I
Payne.
love Major
Yeah.
Payne.
Plus that kid in the front, he's obviously been in a lot of stuff too.
I like when he eats
Okay,
a
now-
cupcake and doesn't poop himself.
I haven't seen that movie in a long time, so I do not get that reference. I should have boned up. You
So
just
you guys know what I'm
watched that?
talking about.
Yes.
And then he farts.
Yeah, he's gonna say just farts.
Just give me a full plot description of
So they
Major
try
Payne.
to put like some hardcore laxative into his cupcake to like prank him, and he eats it, and his stomach like does a little gurgle, and they all think he's gonna shit himself. But then he gets up and walks by and just farts, and some kid passes out.
Okay. The only part of that movie I remember is that he sleeps with his eyes wide open.
Yeah.
It's the only part I remember. Okay, going for worldwide theatrical gross. Dan, which one do you think had the highest intake?
I'll be wrong twice and say Major Payne.
Dan's sticking with Major Payne. Tiffany, what do you say?
Oh man. Let's go Sergeant Bilko again.
Tiffany saying Sergeant Bilko. Kyle, what do you say?
I don't think Major Payne did that well in the box office, so I'm going with Sergeant Bilko.
Kyle saying Sergeant Bilko. Brent, what are you saying? Of these three films, which one do you think had the highest worldwide gross?
I really want to say Stripes.
All right, Brent's saying
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go for Stripes.
Brent's saying Stripes, and he gets a point for it. $85 million.
Oh, my.
Next was Sergeant Bilko with 38. Major Payne with 30. Okay, our next genre of films are historic events. These are movies that depict events that actually took place in our history, or, well, variations in our history. The three films you have to choose from are Dunkirk, Troy, and Pearl Harbor. Let's start with Brent. Brent, which one do you think had the higher budget between these three films?
I'm gonna say Troy.
Brent's saying Troy had the highest budget. Kyle, what do you say?
I'm going to go with Dunkirk.
Kyle's saying Dunkirk. Tiffany, what do you say?
Oh, this one's tough. Let's do Dunkirk.
Tiffany's saying Dunkirk as well. Dan, what do you say?
Pearl Harbor.
Dan's saying Pearl Harbor. The movie that had the highest budget was Troy, $175 million. Brent gets a point.
Jeez.
Pearl Harbor had a $140 million budget, and Dunkirk had a $100 million budget. Brent's on top with 4 points as of now. Going into worldwide gross for these three films. Tiffany, which one do you think had the highest gross worldwide theatrical?
Let's do Pearl Harbor.
Tiffany's saying Pearl Harbor. Dan, what are you saying?
Sticking with Pearl Harbor.
Dan's going to say Pearl Harbor as well. Brent, what do you say?
Dunkirk.
Brent's saying Dunkirk. Kyle, what do you say?
Dunkirk.
Kyle's saying Dunkirk as well. It was Dunkirk. $527 million that movie brought in. Troy brought in $497. Pearl Harbor brought in $449 million. Our last genre and genre feud are CIA movies. The three movies you are going to choose from are Zero Dark 30, Argo, and Spy Game. Kyle, which one do you think had the highest budget between these three films?
Argo.
Kyle's saying Argo. Brent, what are you saying?
Yeah, Argo.
Also saying Argo. Tiffany, what do you say?
Let's do Spy Game.
Tiffany's saying Spy Game. And Dan, what are you saying?
Zero Dark 30.
Zero Dark 30, Dan says. The answer is Spy Game. Somehow that piece of shit movie took $115 million to make.
Robert Redford's
So Robert Redford and Brad Pitt.
bitch's
Yeah.
ass.
Come on.
I'm
Argo
surprised you
only
put
took-
him in anything. We do.
Yeah, do not want to talk about my personal history with Robert Redford, Brent, so don't even bring that up. Argo took $45 million to make. Zero Dark 30 took $40 million to make. Those are both pretty cheap for those films. I thought they'd be higher.
Very.
Now we're going into worldwide gross for these three films. We'll start with Dan. Which one do you think had the highest box office total worldwide?
Zero Dark 30.
Dan's saying Zero Dark 30. Tiffany, what are you saying?
Let's do Zero Dark 30.
Tiffany's also saying Zero Dark 30. Brent, what do you say?
I think it's probably Zero Dark 30.
Brent's also saying Zero Dark 30. Kyle, are you going to stick with the pack or are you going to say something different?
I saw it in theaters myself. Zero Dark 30.
All four of our contestants are saying Zero Dark 30 brought in the most money at the worldwide box office, and all four of them are wrong. Argo brought in $232 million. Zero Dark 30 brought in $133 million. Spy Game only brought in $43 million. That is it for Genre Feud. Looking at the score, Brett has 5, Tiffany has 4, Kyle has 3, Dan has 1 single point. How does that land on you guys?
What is this again?
I haven't started a new game yet. I'm just never mind.
No, I mean, who had what points?
Brett has 5 points. Tiffany has 4. Kyle has 3. Dan has 1.
I'd say it's sitting pretty good with me.
Yeah, I would imagine so. All right.
I'd say it's sitting third best with me.
It's Tiffany, I got to watch out for.
This game is called High-Low.
All right, moving into our next game. This is High-Low. In this game, you'll each be guessing whether the average rating for a film on Letterboxd is higher or lower than 3.5 stars, according to the average rating. 3.5 stars is the line for every question. All right, our first movie is from 2006, Smokin' Aces. Dan, do you think this film is higher or lower than 3.5 stars, according to the users on Letterboxd?
Never seen it. Looks like it's got a smoking vibe.
Okay.
Smoking.
Yeah, you said the word wrong, but
Let's go lower.
Dan's saying lower. Kyle, what are you saying?
I don't trust Letterboxd's opinion, so I'm going to say... Actually, I haven't seen this, so it doesn't matter. I'm going to say lower.
Kyle's saying lower. Tiffany, what are you saying?
I have seen it lower.
Tiffany's saying lower. And Brent, what do you say?
Higher.
Brent's saying higher. And it was lower. 3.0 stars on the dot. I think it should be higher than this. Maybe not as high as 3.5. It's got some enjoyable moments in it. Who has seen this movie of the four of you? Only Brent.
I have.
Oh, and Tiffany. Okay.
I have, yeah.
The best part of this movie is Chris Pine, which was kind of the start of his real career, playing one of the bastard hillbilly inbred brothers. So if you haven't seen it, you should check it out. It's pretty good. Okay, our next movie is from 1987, the year of my birth, and that film is Three Men and a Baby. Tiffany, do you think this is higher or lower than 3.5 stars according to the users on Letterboxd?
Love this movie. I'm going to say higher just because I love it.
Tiffany's saying higher. Dan, what are you saying?
I'm going to say higher.
Dan's saying higher.
Mm-hmm.
Brent, what do you say?
Oh, you gotta fucking be kidding me.
I feel like we've been stumping you a lot today, Brent. Usually you're like quick with the answers, but this time
He's
Come
got
on,
to
go.
losing.
Give me higher.
Brent's saying higher. 3 higher so far. Kyle, what do you say?
Lower.
Kyle's saying lower. He's the only one that does. He's the only one that gets a point for it. It was also 3.0 stars, according to the users on Letterboxd. say that's fair. I don't
good
think it's
news,
that.
guys.
All right, our next film is from 2012, Dread. 3D,
I
it
ain't seen any
says on
of
the
these.
poster. I just know it is Dread. Haven't seen any of these. All right, Kyle, what do you think? Do you think it's higher or lower, according to the users
Lower.
on Letterboxd? Kyle's saying lower. Brent, what do you say?
Higher.
Brent saying higher. Dan, what do you say? Higher or lower?
I got no clue. I'm going to say lower.
Dan saying lower. Tiffany, what are you saying?
Who stars in this movie?
It's what's his name? Carl Urban,
Oh,
and then
let's do.
Cersei from Game of
Boys.
Thrones.
Oh, really? Okay. Lower, I would say.
Tiffany saying lower. Brett gets a point for it. 3.6 stars. It was
I
higher.
should have known.
I needed that.
Damn, I should have known.
I think this
That was
honestly
way
should be.
before. That was way before the Dragon show, though.
Oh yeah. Well, it would have been the same year, I think. No, actually, I think Game of Thrones came out the year before. Game of Thrones started in 2011. This came out in 2012. Our last film for High Low is from 2006, and it is Grandma's Boy, which you may know as the one starring all the Adam Sandler's friends, but not Adam Sandler himself. Dan, which one do you think this is higher or lower on Letterboxd?
I personally enjoy the film, but I could see how people would be critical, and I'm going to go lower.
Dan saying low.
For
Tiffany,
that
what do you
reason
say?
only. I'd rate it higher, but
Okay.
slightly higher. It's not a great film, but it's not bad.
It's fantastic.
Tiffany, what do you say?
It's called classic. Let's do higher.
Tiffany's saying higher. Brent, what do you say?
High.
Brent saying high. Kyle, what do you say?
I agree with Dan Coons. I'm going to say lower.
Kyle saying lower. Dan, Kyle saying lower, and they get points for it. 3 stars
Suck it.
on Letterboxd. I obviously watched this movie a lot when I was a teenager, so I have a lot of affinity for it. But it's not a good movie, guys. it's
Yeah, I know. I
not.
just
Hilarious. It is
That's
a
what I was
fine
saying.
comedy.
We watched
Yeah,
it not too long ago, and I didn't remember it being as bad as it was. But I was like,
Yeah.
all right, well, it was.
I also have
Listen to
similar
this.
feelings on Waiting, the restaurant movie. I used to love that movie when I was a teenager, but I recently watched it again in the past 6 months, and it's such an awful film. It's just not
When
good.
did this podcast become slanderous?
We got a high brow here at Filmwar.
Can you still not say?
Yeah, what, Dan? Can you not say what?
Technically, I did not
just
say.
wanted it to.
I did not say that at the beginning of this
Bernie's
episode. So
or-
right now, you can say it.
Fuck you.
I don't want to say it.
Come
I'm
on.
saving it.
What word, guys? Come on.
My word is my bond.
Titties.
This game is called The Imposter.
For this game, I'll be naming a film and 3 actors. 2 of those actors are actually in the state film. One of them is not. That makes them the imposter. It's up to you to figure out which one is the imposter. Everybody will be answering every question for this game from here on forth. Our first film is from 1997, and it is Gross Point Blank. Thoughts? Feelings? Nobody
It's
says.
I like it.
A funny feud between John Cusack and this sports outfit called Barstool Sports. Check it out.
The cast for Gross Point Blank is Ann Cusack, Susie Cusack, and Joan Cusack. 2 of these ladies were in the film. One of them was not. Dan, which one wasn't?
I've never heard of Susie, and it looks like her picture was clipped from one of Shay's personal Polaroids.
This is a voyeuristic
Susie.
picture, yes. Dan saying Susie. Tiffany, what are you saying?
I literally have no clue. Let's just say Joan, because it's like the most obvious. So
Tiffany saying Joan. Brent, what do you say?
I think Joan, too.
Brent saying Joan. Kyle, which one was not in Gross Point Blank? Ann, Susie, or Joan?
Never seen it. I'm going to go with Joan.
3 Joans and a Susie. And it was Susie. Dan gets a point.
good job, Dan.
He really, he
was a
talked
hell
it
of a
out in
bait.
front of all of you, and you guys just didn't listen to him.
That's why it's a bait, though. You know? It did its job. Go on. Next
Yep.
one, please.
Moving on, Brent says. Our next film is from 2002, and it is a personal favorite of mine, Confessions of a Dangerous Mind. It follows the life of Chuck Barris as host of the Gong Show and also a CIA operative, which, who knows, if that was for real or not, but your cast is Ben Affleck, Brad Pitt, Matt Damon. 2 of these gentlemen were in the film. One of them was not. Tiffany, who was not?
Oh, goodness gracious. Matt Damon.
Tiffany saying Matt Damon. Brent, what do you say?
Oh man, I haven't watched this in so long. I'm gonna say Brad Pitt.
Brent saying Brad Pitt. Dan, what do you say?
I am going to say that Ben Affleck. Actually, no, I'm
Dan
going to
saying
switch it
Ben-
and go with Brad Pitt.
Dan saying Brad Pitt now. Kyle, what do you say?
I'll go with Brad Pitt.
Kyle saying Brad Pitt. Dan, you should have stuck with Ben Affleck because he sure as shit was not in that movie. Brad Pitt and Matt Damon don't have any lines. The camera pans past them as they are contestants on the dating game.
My logic was when you get one bozo, you usually get the other.
Right, yeah, for sure.
That's what I was thinking,
Dogma
too.
rule, yeah. Okay, the next film for the imposter is Mystery
offense.
Alaska, the hockey film. I'm sorry, who was that offensive to?
Ben Affleck and Matt Damon.
Oh, okay, all right.
Loyal
I thought you were talking
watchers.
about,
You never
I
know,
thought you were talking
man.
about us. Yeah,
When
you
it
never
gets
know.
up there.
All right, the film is Mystery Alaska from 1999. Here's your cast. Mike Myers, Josh Hartnett, Hank Azaria. Kyle, which one of these gentlemen was not in the film?
Mike Myers.
Kyle saying Mike Myers. Brent, what do you say?
Hank.
Brent saying Hank Azaria. Tiffany, what do you say?
Josh Hartnett.
Tiffany is saying Josh Hartnett. Dan, what do you say?
I'm going to say Mike Myers solely because from a previous podcast I learned he sold his soul to the devil and had to do a bunch of movies on spec or
Yeah.
something. I don't know.
No offense.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Yeah, that's how he had to do Cat in the Hat. Dan saying Mike Myers. The answer is Josh Hartnett. Tiffany gets a point.
Tiff?
He just looks like he would be in that movie.
Yeah.
I thought he was, literally.
Yep.
I thought I remember
That's-
seeing him in it.
I prey on your weaknesses. The last film for the imposter is Gone in 60 Seconds, another Nicolas Cage film. This one's
I know
from
everybody
2000.
in this movie.
You know everyone in this film, so you better get this question right. Your cast is Casey Affleck, Scott Conn, and Michael Pena. Brent, since you know it so well, who was not in this film? And other contestants, you should listen to his answers since he knows it so well and also say the same thing.
Scott Conn.
Brent is saying Scott Conn. Kyle, what do you say?
I saw this in theaters and I haven't seen it since. I'll go with Casey Affleck.
Kyle's saying Casey Affleck. Tiffany, what do you say?
It's been so long, but I want to say Casey Affleck.
Tiffany's also saying Casey Affleck. Dan, what do you say?
I need to come back, so I'm going to say Michael Pena.
Dan is saying Michael Pena was not in the film. Brent, you said you knew his film very well, but
I got
Did
them
ya?
confused. I get him
Yeah,
confused.
Did ya?
Casey
Did
Affleck
ya?
was not a thing back then. I don't think. He was.
yeah,
not
he
a
was.
thing.
He was a thing. He was already a thing at that point. I
Well, he
do a
was
lot
a
of
human,
research on
but I don't
this
think he
question. He
was
was
an actor.
acting. He was.
Yeah, he was alive, just not in the...
He was
No,
somewhere
shows.
out on the earth doing Casey Affleck things. No,
He was
Casey Affleck
doing
was not in the
Jerry.
movie. All right, score update at the end of that game. Kyle has 7, Tiffany has 7, Brent has 6, Dan has 4. Kyle and Tiffany are tied at the
Go, Tiff,
end
go.
of The Imposter. Dan's trying to make sure Tiffany gets her first win. Let's see how it goes.
Cheerleading. Yeah, I know when to get out of the way.
This game is called Meetings and Failures in Meetings.
All right, this is a fan favorite game. This is Meetings and Failures in Meetings. I'm going to give you 2 titles that a movie was released under in foreign markets. One is real, one is bullshit made up by me. It's
like this
your
game.
job to figure out which one is the real foreign title. We're going to do 4 of these. Our first one is from 2015, Furious 7, the 7th film in the Fast and the Furious franchise. Any feelings on the series at all?
I haven't seen one Fast or one Furious.
Wow. Neither Kyle or Tiffany have seen any of them. What about Dan, Brent? You've seen every single one. You've got all the posters. You've got the trading cards.
Dan's a huge fan.
I saw the first one in theaters. I've seen bits and pieces of the rest.
Paul Walker is still a big inspiration to me. In a way, I watched the first couple of them just because they were a thing, and I wasn't motivated to. I just saw them, and after that, I know it's a franchise now. Furious.
This was Paul Walker's last, at least Fast and Furious film. He was digitally altered in after he died into this one. And also, I'll just take this point to say, like, if you're a fan of Paul Walker, you should look up some of the bullshit that he did in his life while he was still alive, because it sounds like he was a tremendous piece of shit as well. Anyway,
I said facetiously.
Okay, sure.
Hey, if I die, I would love to be CGI and put back into a movie about cars racing.
When you die, I'm going to CGI you into another episode of Filmwar. You will live on as a contestant on this show.
Please do.
Okay, the two titles that are up for debate here are from Japan, Speed Mission Wild Sky, or from Japan, Wild Speed Sky Mission. Brent, which one is real?
I'm going to go SMWS.
Brent saying Speed Mission Wild Sky. Kyle, what do you say?
I'm going to go with Wild Speed Sky Mission.
Kyle's saying the opposite, Wild Speed Sky Mission. Tiffany, what do you say?
I like Wild Speed Sky Mission for this one.
Tiffany's also sticking with Wild Speed Sky Mission. Dan, what do you say?
That's just foolish. It's got to be Speed Mission.
So Brent and Dan are saying Speed Mission Wild Sky. Tiffany and Kyle are saying Wild Speed Sky Mission. Tiffany and Kyle get the point. It is Wild Speed Sky Mission. Still tied. Kyle and Tiffany both have 8 points now. Okay, our next film is from... You finish your thought.
Well, I was saying the Wild Speed, I thought that they would want that in there to discourage people from driving at that speed. Just a little...
Right, it's wow. You guys shouldn't be... You shouldn't be at this speed. Yeah, absolutely. All right, the next film is from 2003. It is Duplex, the Ben Stiller, Drew Barrymore picture that if any of you guys have seen this movie, I'm very upset that you haven't seen all the other movies we've been talking about tonight. You've seen this one. Who's seen this one? Raise your hand if you've
I've seen it. I love it.
God damn it, Tiffany. What the fuck?
I love the old lady. She's the best.
Yeah,
Who plays the old lady? Is that Cloris Leachman?
No, I don't know her name. She's like an Irish chick.
Justin Theroux is in this? What the fuck? Justin Theroux.
You got me thinking it now.
Just saw today Justin Theroux is going to be cast in the new Beetlejuice sequel.
So he's surviving that whole drug the women thing, I guess?
Listen, if your name gets brought up on Filmwar, either we really like you as an actor or you've done something really awful.
Yeah.
All right. The two titles for Duplex are Old Lady Must Disappear from Poland or Hate Thy Neighbor from Germany. Tiffany, which one do you think is real?
Let's do Old Lady Must Disappear.
Tiffany is saying Old Lady Must Disappear is the title. Brent, what do you say?
Hate Thy Neighbor.
Brent's saying Hate Thy Neighbor. Dan, what do you say?
I don't think the H word should be thrown around in Germany for obvious reasons. Let's go with Old Lady Must Disappear.
Have you heard their language?
Dan say Old Lady Must Disappear. Kyle, what do you say?
I was thinking what Dan was thinking, but then I thought, it might have just been lost in translation. I'm going to Hate Thy Neighbor.
Kyle's going with Hate Thy Neighbor. So
No
Tiffany
offense.
and Dan are choosing Old Lady Must Disappear. Brent and Kyle are choosing Hate Thy Neighbor. Dan and Tiffany get points. It was Old Lady Must Disappear.
Woo!
Oh, dear.
Go, Tiff, go.
Okay, moving into another film I love dearly, Heathers from 1988, the Christian Slater Winona Ryder classic. Surely some of you have seen this.
I just watched it not too long ago.
And that
Do you-
means
all
I
the-
watched it not too long ago.
Yeah, you and Dan, all you guys do are watch movies? That's all you
We
guys
just
do?
play them in the background. Yeah,
Oh, well, that's not watching movies,
Well,
guys. That's like
That's
we watch
listening.
them.
I was going to say that's not entirely true. If we've seen them before and they're just like mental chewing gum, we'll throw it on the background. But she actually watched that one, and I had not sat down to watch it ever, so I saw more of it than I'd ever had. I find him very tough to watch. So
some things I love him in, some things I'm not a big fan of him in. But all right, here are the two titles for Heathers:
Pump up the volume.
High School Homicides from Italy, Witches, Homework, and Deadly Lessons from Sweden. Kyle, which one do you think is the real title?
I haven't seen it, but I'm going to say Witches, Homework, and Deadly Lessons. No, yeah. Okay.
Kyle saying Witches, Homework, and Deadly Lessons is correct from Sweden. Brent, what do you think?
High School Homicides.
Brent saying High School Homicides from Italy is correct. Tiffany, what do you say?
Well, there are no witches in the movie, so let's go with High School Homicides.
Tiffany saying High School Homicide as well. Dan, what do you say?
she's a logical girl, and that's why I got her.
So you're going with High School Homicides?
Italian. Yep.
You should not have. It was Witches, Homework, and Deadly Lessons. It was
Interesting.
not High School Homicides.
Huh.
All right, we've got
Witches.
one more of these. And that film is from 2004. It's I Heart Huckabees, another personal classic. I only choose classics on this show. The two titles for you to choose from are Mind Detectives from Mexico and Strange Coincidences from Spain. Dan, which one are you saying is the real title?
Oh, man. Mind Detectives.
Dan saying Mind Detectives. Tiffany, what are you saying?
I like Strange Coincidences.
I do too. Tiffany chooses Strange Coincidences. Brent, what do you say?
Mind Detectives.
Brent's saying Mind Detectives. Kyle, what do you say?
Strange Coincidences.
Kyle's saying Strange Coincidences.
Yeah.
The real title is Strange Coincidences from Spain. Mind Detectives was made up by me.
Olay.
All right, at the end of meetings and failures and meetings, we're in a tie again. Kyle and Tiffany both have 10 points. Dan has 5. Brent has 6. Looks like Kyle and Tiffany are starting to run away with it.
Yeah, I hope I win.
I do too. You've already won, Kyle. Come on now.
I would like to go on a streak.
Well, fair enough.
This game is called Mergers and Acquisitions.
For this game, you'll each receive the name of 2 films. You must take elements of the plots from both of those films and merge them into one plot. You can use any cast, plot, anything you want to use to get some points out of me for your pile. Brett, your 2 films that you must merge into one film plot are Baby's Day Out and Crank.
Oh my goodness.
I can't wait to hear what you come up with for this one. You need to get at least a 4. You need at least a 4-point plot. Well, a plot worthy of 4 points to get back on the board and tie it up.
I like the clarification of the scoring.
Baby's Day Out meets Crank is a movie about, it's basically fairly the same plot as Baby's Day Out. I'm literally just merging these 2 movies here. So Jason Statham is he'll replace the guys trying to find and get the baby.
Okay.
But the reason he has to find and get the baby is because he has to drink the baby's blood in order to keep his adrenaline levels up, because the baby is an experiment that has escaped. They both escaped from the lab, but Jason Statham was released to find the baby. They're both part of the same experiments. The baby produces the element, and Jason Statham is somebody who uses that element to have superpowers. So it's kind of a cat and mouse meets has to save government secret for it's gone awry.
Okay, so do we see any scenes of the 2 of them together in the lab or in the facility or whatever?
Yeah, for sure. Like at least the beginning and probably the end. Think of what's that game where they take the shit out of the bodies because they use it to make themselves.
Operation.
Human Centipede.
No, the video game.
Oh.
With the little daughters and the Aquaman, the big metal Aquaman.
Oh, BioShock.
Yeah, BioShock. So like it's kind of like that deal.
Got it. Very cool. Okay, so the baby's just a normal baby. It's not like a enhanced
Except
baby.
it
It's just got-
produces this. Its body produces this hormone,
but it acts
or
as a
whatever.
baby. It's got baby
Right, it's
characteristics.
just a baby because it's like a, like keeping a silkworm to take its silk and shit like that. So you just take
Yeah,
this.
of course.
The baby has a certain organ. Only young baby organs can produce this.
Pull back. Okay, what's the? Give me a title.
Oh man, I've been trying to do that one on the side the whole time, and I'm. I want to say "Baby's First Crank," but that's probably a little.
No, you're not calling it that. No.
What hasn't, you got to shock audiences now. What haven't we done?
Milk the baby.
No. I'm sorry. I have to veto some of these.
Baby got back.
Baby Got Back. Okay. Baby Got Back starring Jason Statham.
Because they have to remove it from the butt area.
Oh, God.
Baby Got Back, a Brent special. Okay, moving on.
A Disney film.
The Brent special
family
Baby
picture.
Got Back is something different.
All right. Who would like to go next? Dan, you're going to go next. I'm just going to stop asking. Dan, the name of your films that you must merge are Dennis the Menace and Biodome.
Oh, man,
Let's hear
come
something.
on.
I was going to say, Tiff kind of perked up at that one. You should give it to her.
All right, fine. Tiffany, you won this one. You go ahead and take that one.
Okay. Okay, so we're in the biodome, but it's Dennis the Menace and Mr. Wilson, except it's playing them are Pauly Shore and Stephen Baldwin. So Stephen's Dennis and Mr. Wilson is Pauly Shore, and the
Pauly
hilarity
Shore
ensues.
is the older one?
Yes, why not?
Okay.
He's older
Perfect.
now. I think Pauly Shore could totally pull off a Walter Matthau role right now in his life. Why wouldn't he? So yeah, the hilarity ensues. They're in the biodome, Steven's just like the hijinks and messing with everything that Pauly's Mr. Wilson has going on.
Is there another team in there? Like, did they, like in Biodome, they get accidentally locked in with another team?
Yeah, the scientist team. Oh gosh, yeah, sure, why not? So I can have any actors.
Do whatever the fuck you want, Tiffany.
Yeah. Let's have Walter Matthau in there, but he's like the head scientist on the other team.
Perfect. Okay.
Yeah, and he's not too happy with Dennis, played by Stephen Baldwin.
Right. No. Now, does Stephen Baldwin play it like on his knees, so it looks like a kid, or did they CGI him down, or
They're gonna CGI him down? It's gonna look ridiculous.
Okay.
It's like that. You guys remember when the Wayans brother played the baby or whatever, but he really played a little. It's gonna be like that.
Okay, sounds great. What's the title?
The Menacing Biodome. I don't know.
The Menacing Biodome. Okay. The Menacing Biodome by Tiffany.
Ready.
Moving. Yeah, fuck you, Brent. All right. All right, Kyle, you're next. The two films that you must merge into one plot are The Truman Show and The Fugitive. I want to hear what you got. Let's get you some points.
All right, so Truman was born into a movie studio, and he was raised up in this giant movie studio, and everyone was watching him, but then he got out, right? Well, guess what? He still had a contract to fulfill with that movie studio. So they get their hired corporate goons to go find Truman, and now he not only needs to escape the movie studio, he needs to figure out the real world and then escape that.
Okay. Who plays the person, like the main guy that's after him that the studio sends? The Tommy Lee Jones role. Who plays that?
John Lovitz.
John Lovitz. Ooh, okay. You got me interested.
Yeah,
Can you do a John Lovitz impression doing the speech from The Fugitive?
No.
Okay.
I don't think I could.
Okay, perfect. What's
gotta
your
find that man, Jack?
There it is.
Thank you for trying, Dan. What's the title of the picture there, Kyle?
The Trugitive.
Man, get out of my head, bro.
Okay,
So
Fugitive.
good.
I'll take it. That's a good one.
I put
right.
together Truman and Fugitive.
Ah, no. Don't ever share your formula.
Dan, the name of your two films you must merge are Teen Wolf and Father of the Bride.
I got a sex scene coming on this one.
I don't. I didn't go straight there. Steve Martin wants to be good at basketball. He's old. And
Someone just light up a doobie.
I didn't. But I feel like I should.
Tiffany's getting mauled by cats over there. I don't know why
I'm
else
having
sees
a
this.
hard time.
They just
I'm
keep
having a real
showing
hard
up.
time.
It seriously looks like a Zoom call from Jurassic Park.
Oh, that Jurassic Park.
What was the bit you gave? What was the bit?
There's a thing where they make Jurassic Park with cats, isn't it?
Pure Jurassic Park, yeah.
Jurassic Park.
I said Jurassic.
What the fuck does that have to do with cats?
C-A. And then Jurassic.
Carisic. Carisic explains it all.
End of show.
All right. Dan, let's hear a plot out of you.
Sticking with the theme, Ted Nugent is our antagonist. Through cat scratch fever, ironically, Steve Martin gets teen wolf disease. It turns him into a teenager and a wolf, and he's good at basketball now, as we all know.
They're not going to like you calling it a disease.
Oh, yeah. He's special. He's just special because of it. That's his superpower.
Now, if you could find out that your child was going to have teen wolf disease before it was born, would you abort it?
It's not okay. It's not a disease. It's not a disease. It's a heritage.
Yeah.
Do you want your child to have it?
Yeah, I would already have it, so I would want my child to be like me, I suppose. So
It could be recessive.
Then there are pluses to it as well.
well, yeah, because he gets laid like crazy when he's a fucking wolf. Like all the women in that high school.
How does she feel about it? How do they feel about it? No one asked them how they felt about it.
They're entering into it, so I assume they're
but
into
how do they
it.
feel after?
Oh yeah, do we even see that cheerleader again after that scene?
Exactly.
She's just ripped apart in that
probably
school
killed herself.
attic or whatever. Yeah,
Because she felt taken advantage of. It's going to be a tough movie to make because of it, but I'll tell you what, maybe that's the appeal of it.
Tiffany's like, nope.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, guys.
So Steve Martin now is getting laid all over the place. And he becomes the father of the bride because he's impregnated some teenager that's also the age of his high school's senior daughter. So it's really
How old is he?
awkward. Is
this an SVU episode?
Well, we were leaning into the consent and everything, so I just figured we might as well lean further into that curve.
Yeah, now it's
And
keep
it's
going.
All right, so the big game, Ted Nugent brings an AR to the basketball game, and he's just keeping peace. He's just there to keep the peace. As everyone knows, it's safer because the gun's there. And Steve Martin, just as he goes up for the game-winning shot, the superpower he has, or disease, whatever you want to call it, wears off. And the ball
is just about to rim out, but see, Ted Nugent thought he was going to make the shot, so he fires a shot, and the bullet hits the gun, or hits the bullet from the gun hits the ball, knocks it back in. Steve Martin, they win. The community center is not going to be knocked down, and that's the film.
Okay. I like the community center a bit at the end. A little break in action going on there. What is the name of this film, sir?
Cat Scratch Consent.
Your pitch didn't do it for me, but your title did. All right. Mergers and acquisitions. All right. I'm going to give Kyle 2 points. I'm going to give Tiffany 2 points. I'm giving Dan and Brent both 4 points. So if you're keeping scratch at home, Kyle and Tiffany have 12. Brent and Dan have 10. We're going into our final game.
This game is called Dreamcast.
This is Dreamcast. I'm going to name a film or a remake that we're going to do, and you're going to cast the 5 roles with any actor, living or dead. If I choose your actor over the others, you get a point for that one. Our first dream casting for tonight. We did Fantastic Four last week. This week we're doing X-Men reboot. For those 5 roles, we'll be recasting Professor X, Magneto, Cyclops, Wolverine, and Storm. Let's start with Professor X. Dan, who are you going to cast Professor X in this X-Men remake?
I'm not an X-Men guy. I'm not a superhero guy. So I'm just going to go straight off the looks. That's why I love the visuals.
Perfect.
I'm loving the visuals. Let's go with Samuel L. Jackson.
Sam Jackson, Dan says. Tiffany, what are you saying?
John Malkovich.
Malkovich.
I like it.
Brent, what do you think? Professor X.
Kevin Smith.
Kevin Smith. Okay, and Kyle, Professor X, who are you going to cast?
I'm going to go with Leslie Nielsen.
Leslie Nielsen.
Good choice.
That was a good choice. Okay, and Kyle, Magneto. Who's going to go against Leslie Nielsen?
Magneto will be played by Jeremy Irons.
Jeremy Irons. Brent, who are you casting as Magneto?
Man, I hate this shit sometimes. Let's bring John Cena over for Magneto.
John Cena. Tiffany, who do you think? Magneto.
It's so tough. Goodness gracious. I'm drawing a dang blank. Can you come back to me after Dan?
All right, Dan. She just put you on the spot. Who are you casting as Magneto?
I'd love
visual's not
I'd
going to
love
help.
to see them in just a superhero movie. I think they'd be an interesting cast member. And this is the antagonist, correct?
Yeah.
All right. Let's see Dave
So
Chappelle.
Sam Jackson is like the leader of the other team.
Dave Chappelle.
Dave Chappelle. Okay.
Why not? He seems to want to play the heel lately.
Oh.
Got him. All right, Tiffany. You got a little bit extra time. Who are you seeing?
Okay, all right. Let's do John Cusack.
John Cusack. Okay, Dan, Cyclops.
Give me a summation of his role. What's he doing?
So he's kind of the secondary leader of the team. He's like the commander of the team, and he can shoot lasers out of his eyes. But they're not lasers. His eyes are a portal to another dimension that is all hellfire.
Oh, good Christ.
Just a little tidbit there for you.
That's fucked up.
Joel Osteen.
Joel Osteen.
That's a great pick.
Okay. All right, Tiffany, what are you saying? Cyclops.
Let's do a young man. Let's do a young James Dean.
James Dean, porn star. That's the one you meant, right?
Porn star. Whatever.
Okay. James
What?
Dean.
There's a porn star named James
Didn't
Dean.
that guy
Yeah,
do like
yeah.
some atrocious ass shit?
Yes, he did. Yeah, come on, Tiffany, why are you choosing that asshole? Anyway, Brent,
Sarsgaard.
Peter
Sarsgaard.
Which one?
which Peter Sarsgaard?
The one that was in Atlanta. Is that Peter?
No,
Okay,
it's
choice.
which one was? Oh, Bill. It was Bill, right? Bill Skarsgård,
Yeah, okay, yeah.
the one that's in Succession, and no, not the one that's in
Yeah.
Succession.
Okay, the one in Succession was the one in Atlanta,
That's-
wasn't it?
Is it? That's Alexander. I don't know, Scars. I don't know, man. You're gonna have to make a judgment call here.
All right, we'll go Alexander.
Alex Skarsgård. All right, and Kyle Cyclops.
Well, I'm going to do a quick shout out to the Mario movie. I saw it in 3D and I thought it was excellent. I'm going to go with Jack Black.
Jack Black as Cyclops. Yeah, I didn't think that Mario movie was too bad. It was it rushed from point A to point B to point C very quickly. But that was the only negative thing I can say about it.
Oh, yeah,
Kyle,
man,
what do you
I just
think
went
about-
to see the cool pictures? And it wasn't
Right?
really.
Yeah. Who gives a shit about plot and pacing and all that bullshit? Kyle, who are you casting as Wolverine?
Casting as Wolf. It's hard to go back to back. I'm gonna go with the one. I'm going to go with is John Lithgow.
John Lithgow. Brent, what are you saying? Wolverine.
Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart, Brent says. Tiffany, what are you saying as Wolverine? Logan.
Who's that big wrestler guy? He's been in stuff lately. I can't think of his name. I want him though.
Batista.
Yes, Batista. I want him.
Batista, Tiffany says.
Yeah, he'd be a good Wolverine. I think.
And Dan, what do you think? Surely you know who Wolverine is, right?
I do. I got Sam Jackson. I've got Joel Osteen. I've got David Chappelle.
You got Dave Chappelle. Yeah.
Let's go with because it was some sort of anniversary of his, Macho Man Randy Savage.
Randy Savage is Wolverine.
Bootlicker.
Tiffany, who are you going to cast as Storm?
Who am I going to cast as Storm? It is so hard to pick somebody who hasn't already been in X-Men.
Right, yeah. Everyone's been in
That's the
something.
hardest part.
Well,
for
they
me.
could have been another X-Men.
Not true. Let's
Yeah, it just can't be Halle Berry,
Thinking like
really.
an X-Men Freaky Friday.
Let's do the chick that plays Michonne from
Oh,
from The Walking
I don't
Dead.
know her name.
Her name's Denai. I'll do an actress that we can actually name.
I mean, everybody knows who she is, right?
I'll just go Michonne then. Okay. Dan, who are you casting as Storm?
Zendaya.
Oh, good
Zendaya.
choice. Yeah.
There we go.
Dan says Zendaya. Brent, what are you saying?
Terry Crews.
Damn it, man. That's what I should have said for Wolverine.
Yeah, that would have been good
Right-wing
Wolverine,
asshole.
too. All right, Kyle, what are you saying for Storm?
I'll go with RuPaul.
Also good.
RuPaul.
Yeah.
Love RuPaul. All right, our X-Men cast. For Professor X, we have Samuel L. Jackson, John Malkovich, Kevin Smith, and Leslie Nielsen. For Magneto, we have Dave Chappelle, John Cusack, John Cena, and Jeremy Irons. For Cyclops, we have Joel Osteen, James Dean, Alex Skarsgård, Jack Black. For Wolverine, we have Randy Savage, Batista, Kevin Hart, and John Lithgow. And for Storm, we have Zendaya, Michonne, the girl that plays Michonne, Terry Crews, and RuPaul. Okay, for Professor X, I'm going to choose Leslie Nielsen. That's a point for Kyle.
Yay.
For Magneto, I'm going to choose John Cena. That's a point for Brent. For Cyclops, I'm going to choose James Dean. That's a point for Tiffany. For Wolverine, I'm going to choose Randy Savage. That's a point for Dan. And for Storm, I'm going to choose Zendaya. Another point for Dan. So our cast is Leslie Nielsen as Professor X, John Cena as Magneto, James Dean as Cyclops, Randy Savage as Wolverine, and Zendaya as Storm. Pretty good cast. I'd see that movie.
You know, we can type this shit into AI now, right? And make a movie.
Right. Yeah, very soon, very soon. That'll be the next, next week probably. We'll have that.
Hey, the
Hey.
Writers Guild is on strike.
That's what we're doing here. I'm funneling this right into Hollywood, baby. Right? I know I got supports writers right here. I don't. Hire
So
me.
he's a
I'm a
scab.
scab, baby. Yeah. Scab me up. All right, we have one more film we're going to Dreamcast, and that is a live-action remake of The Jetsons. We'll be casting for George Jetson, Jane Jetson, Judy Jetson, Spacely, and Rosie. Brent, let's start with you.
Steve Carell.
Steve Carell as George. Hold on a second. Hold on. Okay, Dan, who are you kind of cast as George Jetson?
Stephen Colbert.
Stephen Colbert.
Gonna play Even Steven.
Even Stevens.
All right, Tiffany, what are you going to say?
Will
We've
Ferrell.
got Carell, we've got Colbert, Will Ferrell, and Kyle. Who are you going to cast as George Jetson?
Rick Moranis.
Good one.
Rick Moranis.
He's
Yeah.
retired from acting.
Not anymore.
I think he's
It's a
actually
shame.
coming back now. I think he's. I know he was in a commercial with Ryan Reynolds last year, and I think he's actually making a movie this year.
No way. That'll be good.
Yeah, it's coming back. All right, Dan, the wife, Jane Jetson.
Oh man, I want to see Jamie Presley as a redhead. We'll go Jamie Presley.
Jamie Presley. Tiffany, who are you saying?
I like Cheryl Hines.
Ooh,
Cheryl Hines. Okay, and Brent, who are you going to cast as the wife? Jane.
What's Sophie from the Dragon Show from X-Men?
Sophie Turner.
Yeah,
Sophie
Sophie
Turner.
Turner.
Yeah. And Kyle, who are you going to cast?
I think this part was made for Julia Roberts. You know me, I'm
Julia
a big
Roberts.
Roberts guy.
Okay, Brent, who are you going to cast as Judy?
That's Sweeney. That new Sydney Sweeney.
Sydney Sweeney. I believe she's from Euphoria. Is that correct?
Yeah.
She's from
Okay.
the
Tiffany, who are you going to choose?
Bayswater advertisements.
There is a young lady that plays on the show Yellow Jackets, Sammy Hanratty. I think she'd be perfect for Judy.
Okay. Sammy Hanratty, you said, is her name?
Yep.
Which one? Who does she play on Yellow Jackets?
Team Misty,
Okay.
the big
okay,
glasses.
yeah. Kyle.
Ariana Grande.
Ariana Grande, Kyle says. All right, Dan. Right back to
All
you.
right. Picking up a little bit from that, we're going to give her another shot at acting because I know her first try didn't go so well. What about Miss Taylor Swift? What's she doing on a Tuesday? You know,
Oh,
Taylor
Sign her up.
Swift. Probably quite a bit, but
I
yes,
didn't
she'll
sure
be in this
last
movie
time.
as Judy Jetson.
she
Okay,
had that
and,
movie Cats or something. Tiffany
Yeah,
told me
she was
about
in Cats.
the
Yeah.
Lawful.
pooper.
Yeah. Okay, Tiffany, who are you going to cast as Spacely?
I'm so glad you picked me first, so nobody else could steal this one. We're gonna go Danny DeVito.
You son of a
Danny DeVito.
right. Obvious choice.
All right. Dan, what do you think? Spacely. Spacely Sprockets.
Shit. Joe Pesci.
Joe Pesci. Brent, what do you think?
Peter Dinklage.
Oh, there you go.
Yes.
Peter Dinklage. Good choice.
That's good.
And Kyle. Wow me, Kyle.
I'm gonna go with he just looks so much like Danny DeVito. It's hard to think of anyone else.
There's another guy out there that looks kind of like Danny DeVito. You could choose him.
I'm gonna
I couldn't think of his
say
name.
Val Kilmer.
Val Kilmer.
So we're gonna AI his voice.
We'll have to. Yeah. I mean, some of these people you've chosen are dead, so we're going to have to do something.
Not me.
Dan, Rosie, the robot. Voice or makeup, I guess, if you want to.
We can't do robot face, not with all this AI shit.
If we're going to do it, now's the time before the window slams shut.
Oh, you don't think they're gonna go back?
Maybe.
They're gonna thumb through it all.
Fran Drescher.
Fran Drescher.
Wow, good choice.
All right, Tiffany, what do you say? Rosie.
I was just trying to think of an annoying voice.
Tiffany.
Oh, me? Let's do Kathy Bates.
Yeah. Kathy Bates.
Oh shit! I got one way better. Can I change my answer?
No, you may not. Brent?
Just because I absolutely loved her as the droid in Solo, Phoebe.
Waller-Bridge.
Yeah, Waller-Bridge.
Okay, and Kyle, the last pick of the game. Who are you
Rosie
choosing
O'Donnell.
as Rosie?
Rosie gets such a bad rap.
They literally named a riveter after her.
Well, literally, the president called her out in a debate to call her a fat pig. I think that's a bad
Rosie
rap.
O'Donnell. I thought you meant the robot. I thought you were talking about Rosie the robot.
No, she gets.
She's get a bad. Everybody hated that character.
No, I think she's doing okay.
All right, our cast for the Jetsons. For George Jetson, we've got Stephen Colbert, Will Ferrell, Steve Carell, and Rick Moranis. For Jane, we've got Jamie Presley, Cheryl Hines, Sophie Turner, and Julia Roberts. For Judy, we have Taylor Swift, Sammy Hanratty, Sydney Sweeney, and Ariana Grande. For Spacely, we have Joe Pesci, Danny DeVito, Peter Dinklage, and Val Kilmer. And for Rosie, we have Fran Drescher, Kathy Bates, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and Rosie O'Donnell. For George Jetson, I'm going to choose Rick Moranis. That's a point for Kyle. For Jane, I'm going to choose Cheryl Hines. That's a point for Tiffany. For Judy, I'm going to choose Taylor Swift. That's a point for Dan. For Spacely, I'm going to choose Joe Pesci. Another point for Dan. And for Rosie, I'm going to choose Kathy Bates. Another point for Tiffany. All right, we do have a winner. For a score of 15 to Kyle's 14, Tiffany takes home her first VHS cassette. Tiffany has 15, Kyle has 14,
Yes.
Dan has 13, Brent has 11.
Clear space
I wasn't
on the
even
mail.
going to play this game.
Yeah, hey, you came back and you won it all. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We have a new champion. All hail Tiffany. She's going home with a VHS cassette copy of Raising Arizona. Follow us on Twitter and Snapchat at The Film War, on Instagram at The Film War Pod, and on our subreddit at r/FilmWar. Please watch our episodes on youtube.com/@FilmWar or at thefilmwar.com. Rate us, share us, kiss us, thrill us. We'll see you soon. Until then, any last words?
I like movies.
Godspeed.
Filmwar, a 1,000-yard stare production.